Okay, so you've done it. You've worked your entire life, you've saved, you've planned, and retirement is finally here. But now, right at the finish line, you're hit with what is, for a lot of people, the single most terrifying financial question they'll ever face. I mean, really think about it. It's this incredible high-stakes balancing act. If you spend too much, well, the money runs out. But if you spend too little, you end up wasting these precious years worrying for absolutely no reason. This one question has kept so many retirees just staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. For the longest time, there was this simple, almost magical answer that gave millions of people peace of mind. It was called the 4% rule. But let's be real, the world has changed a lot. So the big question we're going to dig into is, does this famous rule still hold up today? And that is the very heart of what experts call the retiree's dilemma. You're standing on a financial razor's edge. How do you actually enjoy the life you work so hard for without, chopping down the tree that grows the fruit? So let's get right into it. What exactly is this 4% rule? What's the secret sauce that promised to solve this whole dilemma? At its core, the 4% rule is really more of a starting point. The big idea is this. In your very first year of retirement, you can withdraw 4% of your total savings. After that, you just adjust that dollar amount every year to keep pace with inflation. The goal here is to create a steady, predictable income that, fingers crossed, lasts for at least 30 years. So it's actually a really simple two-step process. Year one, take out that 4%. Now here's the key part that a lot of people miss. From year two onwards, you do not recalculate the 4%. Nope. You just take the dollar amount you withdrew in year one and give it a little bump for the cost of living. That's it. Let's make this super concrete. Let's say you retire with a cool $1 million in your portfolio. Year one, you withdraw 4%, so that's $40,000. Now, if inflation the next year is, say, 3%, you don't take 4% of whatever your new balance is. You just increase that original $40,000 by 3%, which gives you $41,200 for year two. See? Simple. But where in the world did this 4% number even come from? It kind of feels like it was just pulled out of thin air, right? Well, not at all. This rule wasn't just a guess. It was forged in the fire of some of the worst market conditions in history. So the story starts back in 1994. There's this financial advisor, William Bengen, and he's totally obsessed with solving the retiree's dilemma. So he goes on this epic quest. He dives headfirst into decades and decades of market data, looking for that one single safe withdrawal rate that could survive pretty much any economic disaster you could throw at it. And just look at the gauntlet he ran this thing through. I mean, he didn't test it against the good times. He stress tested it against the absolute worst moments you could imagine retiring. Think about it, retiring right on the eve of the Great Depression, or in the middle of that brutal stagflation in the 70s. Benjamin ran the numbers for all these nightmare scenarios, and somehow that 4% rate held up. To really wrap your head around why this works, let's forget about stocks and bonds and all that for just a second. Instead, let's talk about an apple tree. So picture your retirement nest egg as this huge, beautiful, healthy apple tree. And every single year, this amazing tree of yours produces 100 fresh, tasty apples. Now, you could just go for it, right? Have a massive feast and eat every single one of those 100 apples. But if you do that, what are you left with? Just the tree. You've eaten up everything it produced for the entire year. But what if you were a little more strategic? Instead of gorging on all 100, you just eat 4. You still get to enjoy some delicious apples, but you've left 96 of them right there on the tree. And because you only took a small little piece of the harvest, you haven't hurt the tree at all. In fact, it's still thriving. It keeps growing, it gets stronger, and guess what? Next year, it's probably going to produce even more apples. Your investment portfolio works the exact same way. The goal is to live off the fruit, not to start taking a saw to the trunk. Okay, so the logic makes perfect sense. But here is the multi-trillion-dollar question. The world of 1994, when Benjamin did all his research, that's basically ancient history now. So does his rule actually work in the world we live in today? And this is really the heart of the debate. Back in the day, retirees could count on high interest rates from super safe things like bonds. And let's be honest, people didn't live for quite as long. Today, it's the exact opposite. Interest rates are scraping the floor, and people are living well into their 90s, meaning our retirements are stretching on for decades longer than ever. So all these new challenges have led a lot of modern financial experts to crunch the numbers again. And many of them are suggesting a much more cautious figure. They argue that in today's environment, the new 4% might actually be closer to 3 or 3.5%. But here's the thing. Here's the reality check. This whole debate kind of ignores how we humans actually behave. Real life isn't a spreadsheet. The 4% rule was never meant to be this rigid, unbreakable law. In the real world, we're flexible. We instinctively tighten our belts a little when the markets get scary, and we feel a bit more comfortable spending when our portfolio is booming. It's a guide, not a gospel. And this brings us to what might be the single most important point of this entire conversation. It totally reframes everything. Maybe the biggest mistake we ever made was in the name itself. We call it the 4% rule, when maybe all along we should have been calling it the 4% guideline. Because you want to know the true genius of what Bengen created, it wasn't just the math, it was the psychology. For so many people, the biggest fear isn't actually running out of money. It's the fear of spending the money they have. The 4% guideline acts like this data-backed permission slip. It gives you the confidence to say, you know what, it's okay, I can enjoy this, I've earned it. It all comes back to that apple tree, doesn't it? This is the simple, powerful engine that makes the whole thing run. As long as your tree is growing apples faster than you're picking them, your money isn't just going to last, it can actually keep on growing, maybe for the rest of your life. So, when it's all said and done, what is the 4% rule? It was never, ever meant to be a perfect turn-by-turn GPS for your retirement. The world is just way too unpredictable for that. Instead, think of it as something much more valuable, a trusted compass. It won't tell you where every single pothole in the road is, but it will always, always keep you pointed in the right general direction. And that direction is toward a secure and confident retirement.